So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Kings of Anglia Track the Girls Talk podcast, which is proudly sponsored by John Fowler Solicitors. Big up Mark Kennedy and the team for sponsoring the podcast. I'm joined, as ever, by my co-host and town skipper, Blue Wilson. And we're joined by a doctor, Dr Jack Mitchell, as we discuss all things Ipswich Town Women. Another win, 6 straight wins, job done, back top of the league. Watford game got called off, but we're back top of the league. Blue, always a pleasure. How's things? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, all good here, Ross. I was just saying to Jack before this pod how quickly this week has gone. We're recording this on a Wednesday, and it's just I need another day back. But all is good. I have had a little niggle in my knee for the past couple of weeks, hence why I haven't been in squads or anything. Which is nothing to worry about. It's actually the other knee. It's not the knee which has been injured, but nothing to be worried about at all. It's just a bit of inflammation. So we're letting that settle, and it's feeling good actually. So hopefully sort of getting back into training soon. But other than that, yeah, all is good. Good Mother's Day on Sunday. You know how it is. Chocolate sorted, card sorted, happy mum.
That's the goal in life. Sadly, I didn't see my mum on Mother's Day, but I've seen her since, so I have been a good son. But Jack, you were there on Sunday, like a lot of people. Of course, Joe, the gaffer, he's lucky. His mum and dad go to every game. They travel around the country. Big shout out to Joe's parents. They're great supporters. But yeah, Jack, welcome back to the show. Now, Dr. Jack Mitchell. It's been a year since you came on. Yeah, how's things? And let the listeners know your role, just in case they forgot.
Hi Ross, thanks for having me back. And I've kind of leveled up, I guess, since I've last been on the podcast. But it's great to be back. I'm doing well. So I cover like the sports psychology or performance psychology aspect of the senior team and the academy team at the club, and have been doing that for a few years now, and very much supporting kind of the mental skills and kind of the psychosocial aspect of the team and the environment that we're working with, and really just trying to do all we can to support the girls and the team to develop and to get to where we want to go.
Definitely, and I hope you don't mind me saying also ball boy as well. Man, who has to get all the ball. If they go across the pitch somewhere or over the fence, Jack is the man to get them. So that's the role you have to do. Sometimes you've got to have multiple roles. But Jack, you also mentioned you do, of course, part-time in Cardiff as well. So you do travel a lot with the team, but you do other stuff on the side as well.
Yeah, so it's been a busy week so far this week. I've been in Cardiff, so I got back late last night. So I was there for 2 days, and working kind of in research in performance and looking at markers for confidence really, and how that shows up in the brain, and if we can tap into that in some way to try and basically have an idea of how we can help teams feel more confident going into games. It's kind of a new project that Cardiff are looking into, and hopefully we find some interesting stuff that can be really helpful for the stuff we do at Ipswich, but also for the wider kind of sport community.
Definitely. And Blue, I'm sure it's been helpful having Jack. I know Peskett's the same, and all the other players who get injured, having Jack and someone there just to talk to, because with your injury, I'm sure it's been great having another staff member like Jack on the team.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm probably not one that is, I don't want to say not open, but I'll occasionally have a chat with Jack, or if there's, I normally let it build up, and then I speak to Jack every once now and again. But sort of towards the end phases, and then initially when I got injured, Jack's been really helpful. But I think it's important to have, although Jack is part of the coaching staff, but he's not the manager or Joe. So it's nice to have that sort of separation. And I think a lot of the girls find it useful, especially with his expertise and other things that he's doing. And obviously now a doctor. So I don't know why, Jack, you haven't put Dr. Jack Mitchell on the screen.
Do you know what, Blue? I think I can change that myself. So I'm just gonna. Sorry, Jack, but it's got to be done. Do I do DR? It's got to be DR.
Yeah, DR. Yeah.
Is it capital R, or is it just
No, smaller.
Well, there we
There
go.
we go. There we go.
Jackie boy. You got to be humble, but you got to be also, you got to put it out there, Jack. You've done a lot of work to get there.
Needs to be celebrated.
Yes, it does.
I think.
That's why. Carry Lou.
Yeah, I think another probably since the last pod or maybe even before, the comparison between you like being a feeder within sessions, Jack, feeding the balls in and passing the balls around from last year to this year, huge development in passing technique I've seen. I don't know whether you feel it too. I don't know whether it's positive self-talk or visualization that you're doing, but it's working.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just practice. I'm going to be honest, I'm not using any psych skills. Using both feet a bit more as well, which has been good. So I've got the left foot going again, which was really rusty. So yeah, kind of pleased to fill in where I can, and obviously Nicola does a lot of that. So I'm sure her game's really kicked on as well over the last year.
Do you know what? I think she's a dark horse player, though, Nicola. I think she's a decent player. I know she played back in the day when she played, but she's not a bad little player. And Jack, I want to quickly mention, maybe support for Joe as a manager as well. I'm sure it's good to have another sort of head there just to ask for advice and stuff like that. I know he's the main man. I'm sure he'll be listening to this, but I'm sure it's just great to have someone else he can bounce advice about.
Definitely. I think we all kind of come together as a team and discuss views, like as a staff team, I guess, and as a collective with the squad on kind of how we're seeing things. And yeah, I guess it's just like a different lens. So I might try and look at different things that's happening on the pitch or in training, and look at communication or body language, those sort of things that may be useful for Joe to get more of a sort of full picture of what's going on, or maybe able to explain why certain things happened in a certain way. And just the same with like Nicola or Sophie or Mia or Paul with their views on things as well. And it just gives, it kind of a more holistic view of what's happening. And hopefully then we can make better changes or adaptations to help us to improve and develop.
Yeah, and of course this season we've had some more setbacks in terms of, first time we've seen back-to-back defeats. Unfortunately, Portsmouth have been there. That a bogey side we couldn't beat. What's that been like as a staff member? Sadly, seeing us see more defeats than we normally would have got.
I think it's been really strange. I think like comparing to last season and this year, like our pre-season this year was really good, and because obviously we had COVID and things that kind of interrupted and stuff previous season. So it's probably our first season where we've had a really good, solid pre-season. We've had some really good games as well, and I felt we played really well in them, especially at like Wolves away. And I was thinking, God, we're going to like hit the ground running. We're doing really well. And then, the first two games were a real shock, I think, for us all. And we were asking a lot of questions of like, what's going on? What are we doing wrong? Why is this so different? But yeah, I think the group came together really well, and obviously that win at Billericay was really, really important for us, and I think it put to bed a lot of concerns that we perhaps had at the initial start of the season. And I think since then we've really sort of developed as a team, and sort of the processes that we're working on, not just in game but like in training week to week, have really come through. And with the kind of the depth of the squad that we've got now, I think we're in a really, really good position to push on and be in a good position to win the title this year.
Indeed. And Blue, what a run we're on at the moment. 6 straight wins, scoring goals. Clean sheet record is gone, but that doesn't matter. Let's go into the game then. Crawley Wasps, of course, they're fighting for their lives to stay up. But yeah, your overall thoughts on the win before we get to the main talking points.
Yeah, good win. A win's a win at this point in the season. I think we probably would have liked a few more goals, looking at goal difference and the teams around us. But all in all, it's 3 points, and that's the most important thing. I sadly wasn't at the game, so following on Twitter as per usual. I was also going to follow the Oxford-Watford game, but then that got postponed. So full focus on the Ipswich game, and obviously we scored early. So I was like, oh, this is a really good start. This could propel us. to get a few more goals, but turns out we ended up getting 4 and conceding 1. But at this point in the season, we have to be happy with 3 points. And although the clean sheet record is gone, I know Boz in particular I spoke to yesterday, and she wasn't happy about that. She was quite upset about that. But 6 on the trot now, is it? So it's pretty good. And although both you and Jack mentioned about sort of 2 back-to-back losses at the start of the season, I think almost having a winning run provides sort of an equal and opposite challenge in terms of, okay, well, how do we stay focused? We can't get complacent, especially when we're going into 4 important games. So it's a different challenge, and I can imagine Jack is now working with Joe to work on ways where we have to keep the team motivated and make sure that we're not just going into games thinking we're going to win it, if that makes sense. But yeah, all in all, I'm happy. Good win away. Crawley struggling, but yeah, put them to bed, which is good.
Definitely. Jack, let's sort of have peek behind the curtain moment here. I don't know if Blue, you've been told this from the team, from the staff. We had to park the coach on a random street, and we had to walk to the ground. It was a very interesting scene. You have a full Ipswich Town squad. I was like behind everyone. I was just watching. It was like, yeah, we had to walk through like a council estate, and you had to get to the ground because we couldn't park the coach. The coach was too big for this little road. We had to move the stadium. It wasn't Camping Community World Stadium, Blue, in the end. We got that wrong on the pod, so sorry if anybody went there instead of Hanbury Park. But yeah, Jack, it was a very interesting thing we had to do. We had to park the coach on this road, and then we had to walk to the ground. It wasn't a long walk, so we're not complaining too much about that, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, I think it was really difficult to get to the stadium for Mick, the driver, and I think some parked cars on the road prevented him from being able to get direct access. But yeah, certainly an interesting kind of first impression. And unfortunately, I was carrying the VO stand, which is really awkward to carry. And after about a minute, your hands sort of get really painful. And yeah, so I was a bit, oh no, just get there now, come on. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things, I think, with some of the grounds that we play at, that access can be really difficult. And they don't always consider kind of how coaches can arrive, and we don't get that information beforehand. So, or don't always get that information. So yeah, it was a strange one to kind of encounter that, and felt like we sort of obviously dealt with that okay, and but then sort of gained focus when we arrived.
Indeed, and an early goal, Jack. Anna with her 11th for the season, capitalising on a mistake, and just good to see us score an early goal. And when Anna sort of was through, I went, yeah, easy goal, 1-0, happy days.
Yeah, I think we were getting some really good opportunities in behind early on, even probably before Anna scored, and we looked like we could have had a couple of really good chances. And the threat was definitely from that position. Crawley were playing quite a high line, and yeah, it was a really good finish in the end. It sort of fell to her through the defenders after I think Megan played a long ball, and yeah, it was a really good start. And you sort of starting to think, okay, here we go. We could get a few here if we keep this up. But yeah, like it was really good to have that, and then I think not long after, Freya then doubled the lead for us, and we then looked in a really commanding position. And yeah, I felt like we dominated the kind of early stages, and were able to sort of get the ball into really good areas of the pitch, and build well from the back, and had lots of different variety in the way that we played. And yeah, I felt that we were kind of comfortable in a way.
Definitely. And Blue, another goal for Freya, as Jack said. A 7th for the season, 5 and 4. Long legs, Freya, quoted from yourself. Another goal for her playing up front again.
Yeah, she's in great form. So that's good to see. I know it's a normal change from Tash normally being our number 9, but I think they both provide something different. It's good to have that choice between the two. But yeah, she's in great form, and working quite well. So yeah, good to see long legs. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, definitely. And Jack, I think Joe said in his interview with Kieran that there was good conversation at half time in the dressing room. Any insight on that? You know, don't have to go too in depth. Don't want to give our secrets away to the opposition just in case they are listening. But any insight on just players maybe just going, we need to do better, even though we were 2-0 up?
Yeah, pretty much that. I think they did really well to problem solve and really captured what some of the kind of issues were from the first half as a group. And it sounded like many of them were providing their feedback and even asking like players that were on the bench for the game what they saw and what was going on, what they could do to potentially change that and to address it. So I think when Joe and sort of the rest of the staff came in, we didn't really have much further to add. They kind of captured everything we wanted and spoke really well. And it was really nice to see that it was a player-led kind of discussion at half time, and they went out in the second half knowing what to do. And it's kind
Jack,
of really.
You're probably seeing a lot of sort of growth in the team as, you know, even as just people, because they've, you know, grown up another year since last year, the setbacks of last year, unfortunately. So you must see, you know, maybe more leadership in the squad now because people are happy to jump on and go, yeah, we need to do better here.
Definitely. I think as you grow into the game, you kind of feel more confident to have those discussions, and especially playing in sort of areas of the pitch or different positions that you know you're not necessarily familiar with initially. And we've had a few players move into different areas. It's then harder to get an understanding of the game and how it's going from a different position. So I think for instance, Maria Boswell did really well at half time in sharing her thoughts, but then also she's sort of grown into that position as a centre back and kind of sees the game perhaps a little bit differently now. And there's many other examples from many other players that have done similar things and feel a lot more open to share kind of their views on what they're seeing from the performance.
Yeah, and I will admit the first half wasn't a classic Blue, but we got 2 goals. But then I felt second half was much better. Digging in to get more goals. Braziero had a offside goal, and I was like, oh, that was a great finish from her. And then from that moment, we then conceded a penalty. Our first goal we conceded in 6 games. Questionable penalty. Quantrill had no chance. Good pen from the Crawley player, to be fair. And I thought they worked hard. But what was your feeling like when you saw that first goal conceded after the amount of time? I don't know how many hours, what the complete stat is. 6 games it was. But yeah, I won't find the stat for how many hours it was for the last time we conceded. But yeah, thoughts on when we conceded our first goal in ages.
Sorry, Blue.
Go on, Jack. You're in full flow there.
Over. I just got to say it's disappointing, but I think, you know, in the manner that we conceded a penalty, and it was it wasn't like a huge lapse of concentration or a defensive error. I think it's kind of more understandable, and sometimes it's going to happen when the ball gets into the box and a cross comes in that the ref sees it a certain way, and it was disappointing, obviously, to lose the kind of clean sheet run, but there could have been many worse ways that we could have lost that run of clean sheets. So I'd back Sarah as well for the penalty. I thought she's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think you'd hope it was just like a screamer out of nowhere to ruin that clean sheet record, but Blue, it was a penalty, unfortunately. I think Megan Waring, of course, it just hit her hand, just had her hands by her side, and it's just one of those things in the box, anything can happen.
I asked her about it last night, actually. I asked a few of the other girls, and they were like, yeah, it was a pen. So even Megan admitted it was a pen. She said she couldn't do much about it. It was sort of a natural, her arm was in a natural position because she'd gone to change direction and the ball's just hit. So it's one of those where the rules in football maybe aren't quite, not fair, but it's just one of those which happens. So when I initially saw they had won the pen, similar to you, Jack, I thought, yeah, that's all right, Sarah will save it. So the confidence was there, but I think probably the chances, the realistic chances of her saving that are low. So yeah, it's one of those. at least it isn't from open play where we've been pulled apart by Crawley, who are a struggling team. That's when you'd be a bit more concerned. It's more just all of those which you can't. I mean, Megan is. You see players with their arms behind their backs, but it's so difficult to play like that in the box. But I thought actually after that goal went in, I was like, oh, I wonder if this spurs us on now. Because actually sometimes when you get that shock on the pitch where the opponent scores and you've been in control, it hasn't been a great game, but you've been in control, and actually they score one and say, yeah, you know what, we're still here. It then can have an impact on us and how we then apply ourselves in the game. Obviously added another one after that. But yeah, sad to lose our defensive clean sheet record, but it was going to happen at some point. So at least that pressure is off.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, we got that third goal. Bonnie, dead ball specialist. Once again, Jack, I'm sure you were confident when she was in that position. She's going to score. That's her third free kick goal this season. And yeah, just a nice little free kick that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think as Blue was saying, after that goal, we responded really well. And I think Peskett went through for a really good opportunity, 1v1 in the end with the keeper. And then we sustained a lot of pressure in that part of the pitch and gained a couple of free kicks. And then it started to kind of inch closer and closer to the goal. And there was, it was in the Bonnie territory, I guess. And I think we've seen her do similar at Plymouth, and there was another home game where she did similar, and you just think, okay, we know exactly what she's going to do here, and she did exactly that. And yeah, it was just really pleased to see her continue that and under pressure and able to sustain it.
Yeah, in Blue, she only scored one goal last year. Sorry, Bonnie, if you're listening. That was on her debut, but this year she's made sure she's scored more. I think that's what her goal was this year, to score more goals, and she's doing just that.
Yeah, definitely. She scored a lot this year. The thing is, when you have Bonnie in that situation, she's got such a cool head, and she doesn't really, I don't think she really overthinks things. So I almost see, if I imagine her head in that scenario, it's quite a simple process. Like, yeah, well, I'll just put it in the back of the net. So it's good to have people like that in the situation, standing over a free kick or standing over a pen, because you trust them. You trust them to put it in the back of the net. So yeah, I hope it continues for the last sort of 4-5 games of the season.
Definitely. And Jack, before we get on to EK coming off the bench to make it 4, I want to mention Megan Waring, as we did earlier, because she's been, once again, so close from scoring from set pieces. But what I love about her as a player, when, sadly the corner kick or whatever hasn't worked out, she's straight away bolting right at the back. And I just love seeing that every time. She has no mistakes. She just goes, boom. I was like, oh, she's back already. That's just great to see.
Yeah, she's very much focused on the next task. I think we're all praying for her to hit an overhead kick or a bullet header at some point off a corner or set piece or something. But I think there was a stage as well where she was sprinting back against Crawley, and it kind of was in the right place at the right time and was able to regain the ball for us, kind of still in their half, and was able to then recycle it and have another chance. So I think she's really, really good at kind of switching on to what's next and identifying that perhaps we're a bit exposed at the back from set pieces, and recovers really well.
Yeah,
and I saw a clip actually, Ross, before you go on. I saw a clip of the game yesterday where I think a free kick must have happened, and we played it short, and she was up because of the free kick. Anyway, she gets hold of the ball, plays a 1-2, sort of just outside the box, and then has an opportunity to finish. Goalkeeper saves it. Anyway, she's then on the floor, and you watch her, and she punches the ground. It was hilarious. So we're all laughing at her. She's like, I need my first goal. And we're like, yeah, it'll come. But yeah, she works hard, and that's the main thing, and I'm sure it will come. And then after that, I'm sure there'll be loads more. But yeah, I'd love to see a Megan Waring goal, whether it's an overhead kick, bullet header, or smashing it into the net. Any of them I'll take before the end of the season.
Yeah, bring it on. No pressure, Megan. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
No
Yeah.
pressure at all. But it'll be nice. It'll be nice. And Jack, EK off the bench to make it 4. A good assist from Pesca and a great finish from EK. And we did actually a very rare thing at half time. We made a substitution, which I was surprised to see. What was the talk on that one? I think it was Pesca came on for Jack.
Nia.
Nia, yes, that is the one. But yeah, Pesca comes on, and yeah, EK later on came on, of course. But yeah, that was an interesting change.
Yeah, I think we were just looking for a bit more pace, perhaps, the sound down that side of the pitch, and obviously Pesquet's one of the quickest players that we have, and she was able to provide that, and having that more energy and in those areas up the pitch was going to be useful for us. And I think she obviously managed to sustain that right up to the end, to whenever EK scored kind of 90+4 or whatever. And yeah, so I think that was kind of probably the main thinking of that. And obviously, it turned out a worthwhile kind of change, and she's able to get an assist.
Definitely. And Blue, what I loved about when we scored that 4th goal, 94th minute it was, we were straight away back. We aren't going too crazy with celebrations. EK was passionate with her celebration, of course, but we were straight away back looking to score more, which I'm sure, as a captain, I'm sure you love to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. Even if it's like last stages, it shows our intent to want to get more goals and how focused we are in the current sort of state of the team. But I do love when EK scores because the celebrations are so passionate. It brings me back to when we played a while ago, when we played Norwich away and won 10-0 and EK got a hat-trick. I still remember her, young EK, who was a lot smaller than she is now. But I remember young EK getting very, very excited. But she still has that passion. So I enjoyed watching that celebration back, and then obviously the team running back to see if we can get more. So I think that shows sort of the intensity and where everyone's heads are at collectively in order to achieve this big goal that we have at the end of the season. Yeah,
that Norwich game, probably one of my favourite ever pictures was EK putting the 3 up of the hat trick. That's one of my favourite pictures because it was just lucky I was in the right position at the right time. Normally I'm in the wrong position like many, many times this season. I've been the other end of the goal or whatever, and they celebrate the other way. But that moment, I was just so lucky to be there and to capture that moment. But she's still the same EK, as you said, just a bit bigger now, a bit stronger, which is good, and more goals. But Jack, just to sort of round off the win, job done. Back top because of the Oxford-Watford game getting postponed. And just, Hanbury Park, a very interesting setup. I thought it weren't too bad. Some people thought it weren't great, but I thought it was not a bad little setup. I think they've done some work. Away day food, I just had a Kit Kat and some crisps. But you had some of the food, Jack. What would you rate it? I decided not to have any because I just looked at it and went, there's probably going to be no flavour to it. But I'll let you sort of do your review. No offence to the Hanbury Park chefs.
We've had kind of worse setups that we've gone and travelled to, I think. And I remember we played them last year after the abandoned game, and they had a really nice 3G pitch that we played on. It's quite a modern facility, and I think in my head I thought we were going back there, so kind of planned kind of for that, and it was quite different. And obviously getting access to the stadium was difficult on Sunday, but the food was not great. I mean, I never really complain. It's free food, and it looked okay, like a spaghetti bolognese type thing with some bread. But I think Tash mentioned that they'd like burnt the pan or something, and it was then mixed into the kind of dish. So it had like when you grill like a burger on a barbecue, it had that kind of barbecue kind of burnt kind of flavour to it, which was interesting, I guess. So I don't think many of the girls enjoyed it too much, but we stopped off at the services, and I think they managed to find something a bit more substantial that suited their appetite.
As you say, Jack, it's free food, so you just give it a try, and if it tastes bad, then you just don't eat any more of it. But I decided the route Blue, I just went, nah, I'll wait until we go to services. There was a Morrison's where we were parked, like a little Morrison's. So I went in there quickly and got a little muffin. So I had that just to fill my time until we went to the services. But yeah, the Kit Kat and Chris was fine at the clubhouse. So yeah, Hadbury Park, thanks for your hospitality and all that jazz. Yes, Blue, any other business from the game for yourself? Yeah, just another win.
I don't think so. Just another 3 points. On to the next.
Definitely. Okay then. Well, it's your time to shine then, Jack. A spotlight now been put on you. 10 questions with Blue. I'll let you take it away with the first question.
Always starting with a difficult question, Jack. So who is your biggest influence?
So I've got kind of, I guess, a few, but my parents would be probably the main one. Personally, I think my mum's just been like they both my mum and dad have been huge inspiration, but my mum's from like a teaching background, so yeah, primary school age. So I think growing up, myself and my sister kind of always developed this kind of desire for learning and developing and curiosity around just learning new things. And I think she tried to make kind of everything a lesson, and that's obviously been really helpful kind of for my studies, but then I think just in life wanting to know more about things and being curious has been really a big part. And yeah, and I think like professionally there's a couple of names recently. So I think Ian Maynard, my supervisor for my training for sports psychology, has been really helpful, and he went and worked in the Barcelona Olympics and has done some other stuff with kind of some big names in big teams and done a lot in rugby and golf. So he's got kind of this huge wealth of knowledge that's been really helpful. And kind of more recently, Kate Hayes, who's the England women's psych. So we meet kind of once a month in like a big community of practice with all the sort of WSL and championship psychologists and kind of share best practice. And I think some of her work's been really interesting to hear about. And I've tried to kind of learn from those sort of interactions as much as I can. So yeah, I guess like a few people, but I'm sure that will kind of develop and change as life goes on.
Definitely. And we're talking about food just a minute ago, Jack. What's your favourite, food to eat or a cook? Are you a dab hand in the kitchen?
I can cook. Yeah, I think going away at uni and not having much of an idea what to do when I was younger, and I think slowly over the years you kind of start feeling more confident into cooking and stuff. I've got really into like the poke bowls recently, probably not this winter, but like before winter. Probably start that up again soon. But really like that. It's kind of like a deconstructed sushi type thing. But yeah, I really like the variety in colour, and it seems quite healthy, and it's just something new, I guess. So I've really enjoyed that, and I quite like making Thai green curries, and I really like coriander. So I just put like a mountain of coriander in it, full of herbs, and try and do it from scratch. So I add some like lime and all of that, and ginger, and quite like that in the winter, and a bit of spice.
Right, Jack. Well, let me and Blue know when you fancy us going round, and we'll enjoy that. Copy that.
Will do.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, Blue, take it away.
What was your favourite subject in school? Now, I know you have a psychology sort of influence now, but was that present in school, and did you find that within school?
I loved that at A level, definitely. But I was someone that just couldn't sit still at all, really. So I loved PE and doing all the sports stuff. Unfortunately, I couldn't take PE for GCSE because it clashed with some of the other subjects that I'd chosen and wanted to kind of do that. And I knew I'd still do PE is like you have to do it anyway, but I couldn't study sports science. But yeah, I really enjoyed that probably from, early years up to when you're 18, and just all the different sports, just loved it, and everything was like a cup final for me. I just had to win every single thing that I played in, and really enjoyed that. And it kind of broke up the day really nicely because I just hated sitting for hours in a classroom. reading, writing and stuff. But I think as I've grown up, that's probably changed a little bit. But yeah, definitely more active stuff was my gig.
Nice one. Now, Jack, what is the one item you can't live without, my friend?
I'm going to have to say coffee, because I get ripped for this so much, because yeah, I do like a lot of coffee, and I don't think I would have got through my PhD without coffee. So yeah, I don't think I could live without it now. I think I'm probably addicted to it. Could go the odd day without it, but yeah, I really enjoy it. And I think Joe's seen me had 2 or 3 before an away fixture on an overnight, and sort of, what are you doing? So yeah, usually when he introduced me to a new member of staff or players, this Jack, he drinks like 10 coffees or something before lunch. So yeah, I'm going to say coffee.
Well, and Blue, I'm doing this again. I'm adding another question, or part of 10 questions with. It's pretty much, what's your order, Jack? What's your coffee order?
Just like a black coffee, sometimes double espresso. I think in summer I do like an iced latte, something a bit colder. But yeah, usually don't have milk. Quite like the full, it needs to have full strength, and I want to taste the coffee and need the full hit. Yeah.
Blue, are you a coffee drinker?
I am, yeah, I am. And I got a coffee machine for my birthday, which is dangerous because it's sitting just there, and that is very, very tempting. But if I drink more than 2 a day, I just get too like I can't sit still. So, Jack, I'm sure you've built up a tolerance of over your uni years and PhD years, where you're now at a tolerance where you can't feel it up until 3 or 4. I'm not sure, but I haven't quite got there yet, and I'm managing it, because otherwise it could get dangerous, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I need one to just function like a human, a few more to look a bit more alert, and yeah, so definitely built up tolerance. When I broke my machine, I probably used it too much, so I'm back on like cheap instant coffee, which is fine. I'm sort of, with the cost of living and things, it's kind of saving some pennies, but yeah, I do miss kind of the nice fancy coffee every day. So yeah, I hope you enjoy your gift, Blue.
Yes, it's been put to use for sure.
Good to hear. And maybe links up now, Blue, with the next question, really, maybe?
Yeah, I think it probably does. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? And I'm going to take out teleportation. Teleportation's too overpowered, so that cannot be chosen.
Okay. That would have been handy, like having to go to Cardiff and Ipswich.
I could, definitely for you.
Yeah, I think for me, selective memory. So like being able to choose what you hold on to and remember and forget, because there's things like from when I was a kid that I don't remember anymore, but probably were really cool things to remember. And then things that you don't want to remember that happen that would be quite helpful to forget, that you struggle to kind of let go of or keep reappearing. So yeah, I think having the ability to kind of filter out your memories and choose what you do and don't want would be quite cool. And yeah, it might kind of shape your experiences in life in a more positive way. So yeah.
Oh, that's up there. One of the best answers I've had.
That's my favourite one so far, actually.
Yeah.
That's my favourite. I wish I'd said that. I think that replaces mine now. That's a very good one.
Very good one. Well done, Jack. That's why you're a doctor. And also a lot of your hard work and stuff like that. But yeah. Now, Jack, maybe that's going to be one thing that will annoy you eventually, me just saying doctor. But what is the one small thing that annoys you?
I wanted to hear ref decisions and saying that, but then they're not always small things. So I was a bit like, I don't know if I can have that one. I like technology can really annoy me. I think that really kind of pushes my buttons quite quickly. And I find it very difficult to tolerate when things just freeze or don't want to turn on properly. Or like recently, I've got one of those Apple Watches, and Siri keeps talking to me at random moments that really annoy me. So I'm not wearing it now in case it's like suddenly wants to say something. So things like that just kind of irritate me, that probably grind my gears a little bit more than they should, and have to do a few breathing exercises to just be like, okay, it's just being slow today, come on. But yeah, that's probably the main thing. Things just that should work, and you know they're usually quite an investment, and for some reason they freeze or whatever.
You try and turn it on and off again. That is the go-to, of course. That's the go-to. That is the go-to. But yeah, Blue, up next.
I'm going to add on to that, actually, because there's one thing which is really annoying me at the minute with my phone. My phone's really old, and I refuse to update it because it still works. It does what I need it to do. There's no point in me having 5 cameras on it. I'm fine with that. However, the storage is full. The storage is so full. So I've done the iCloud thing, whatever. I don't fully understand it, to be honest. I'm not great on tech. But I just every sort of week I then have to go back and delete all my photos, and I don't know why. I don't sort it out properly or upgrade my storage or whatever, but I don't, and it's my own fault, but it causes so much annoyance when I get a notification every time I go on WhatsApp saying storage too full. So yeah, that's mine, but that is caused by me because I refuse to sort out my storage. So it's not really Apple's fault at that point. But we'll move on. Favorite holiday destination? So it could be something that you visit, somewhere you visited, or somewhere you'd like to go. Your choice.
Where I've visited is a place called Hortan. It's probably pronounced differently in French, but it's like this small little town on the outskirts of Bordeaux on the sort of southwest coast of France. And I used to go there a lot as a kid growing up, camping like with my parents, and we had family friends that were like similar ages to us. So we'd go with them and kind of get to camping pitches, and it'd be right on a lake, but there's also a beach there. So you can kind of choose where you go, and you can do a lot of water activities and do a lot of like windsurfing, bodyboarding, that sort of thing. And then we'd have like barbecues in the evening. And so I've got like a lot of happy memories from there. And I haven't been back since I was a kid, but I'd really like to see how it's changed. And you can have a lot of like good food there and things like that. But quite enjoy it. It was quite a trek though. We used to drive down, get the Eurotunnel or the ferry, and I think it's like 14 hours. So it'd often stop halfway, and it'd always be a mission trying to pack the car, because you've got like a tent and a gazebo and like all your sleeping bags and barbecue and all these things that you need for camping. And it's sort of like it was a big kind of Tetris game trying to get everything in and back in when you come back home. But I used to do that every summer, and I think that's probably like my favourite place that I've been. Yeah.
I get told so many people about France, like southern France or southern France and stuff. I always get told it's really good. I've only ever been to Paris, like the go-to, but maybe I need to explore my horizons more in France. Like, is the weather nice in France? That's a random question from me here, but is it good?
It really depends where you go. So like the north is very English, I think, like Normandy and kind of up sort of north of Paris. And then if you the more south you get, the more kind of Mediterranean it kind of gets. And when you travel down, I remember as a kid waking up and it looking a bit like more sort of dusty and deserty, with more like tropical kind of like palm trees and stuff. So like, and obviously you got skiing there in the mountains. So it's kind of got everything, which I think the UK probably doesn't really have in terms of variety of climate and things that you can do. So it's got a lot to offer. I think my family like the wine, so they're quite happy being in Bordeaux and in the south part of France. But
okay, nice one. I'm gonna give it a go, because I've travelled, but France is always just, I don't know, it's been there because it's so close. You just don't really think about it. But I've got so many people who go there for like a week, or they've got maybe a place somewhere in France. So I'm gonna give it a go, Jack. Thank you very much for that. We'll do. Now, Jack, early bird or a night owl, my friend?
I think I'm more a night owl now. I think I worked in restaurants quite a lot since I was 16 on the side of like studies. So that requires kind of late finishes, sometimes, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning. So I'd often have to then eat and shower and stuff quite late. And then, I think kind of being at Ipswich and we used to train quite late. I'm sure remembers when we used to finish really late. And so yeah, I've got very used to kind of being quite active and alert at night. And obviously I've said about my coffee habits, and yeah, trying to function quite early is quite difficult without a coffee. Yeah.
I like that. Definitely. Blue, over to you then before we get into the final question, which is going to get deep, Jack, but I'm sure you can take it.
So penultimate question. What skill would you most like to master?
I've never skied, so I'd quite like to learn how to ski. Yeah. I've been, I think it's not bobsleigh, like on a sled or something. In Italy, I think about 2 years ago, just before the pandemic, and that was fun. And I was like, oh, this is a bit of me. I could do this. But yeah, never done it. I know some of the girls, like Lucy O'Brien's, really into skiing, and yeah, it'd be something I'd like to try. I've only ever heard good things, other than kind of injury risk that's associated with it. But other than that, I've heard it's a lot of fun. So quite like that. And then from like football side of stuff, I think I want to develop my tactical knowledge a bit more. I think it's been really interesting learning quite a lot of that since being at the club. So I quite like to develop that and see how it can then influence kind of psychology and sort of our thoughts, feelings, behaviours, and or if it, the extent to which it does, and it would help me develop my learning as well for the game. So I've really enjoyed that, and would like to kind of work on that a bit more, I think.
Great. One question, Jack. What has been the one thing you've had to overcome in life, my friend?
Like the hardest thing, I think the PhD has been really difficult. It's definitely up there. But I've ran 2 marathons as well. I think they were really tough. Like, I don't think, much comes close to that I've experienced. I think, especially the first one, because I've not done it before. So you kind of go, can I do this? And when you train, I didn't train 26 point whatever miles it is. I only trained up to about 19 miles. So I wasn't even sure if I could do it. And yeah, you kind of get probably into like mile 15 or 16 and you're like, this is just horrible now. This just, everything hurts. Your like body's chafing all over the place, and there's people overtaking you who are wearing all sorts of like fancy dress. I had a woman in heels overtake me, and I'm just thinking, God, I'm terrible, and they're doing so well and I'm struggling here. And yeah, it's just not fun. Like, I don't know why so many people do it for fun, and even further distances like ultra marathons and those Ironmans and stuff. I just think those people are just on a different level. But yeah, it definitely helped me to kind of think about like my mindset, and think about, like, you learn a lot more about your body as well. So I think you learn to listen to your body a lot better, and what it's telling you, and how to push through sort of the pain and unhelpful thoughts, because you've got a lot of thinking time for hours and usually your body's going, stop, give up. It's enough now, and you have to kind of channel that. So I think, yeah, that's probably been the hardest thing. But then once you've gone through that, like with many other challenges, it kind of makes you feel stronger that you can cope with other things that come your way. So I think for a while after that was, I can do anything. I've done a marathon. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. Blue, any other questions for Jack before we wrap up the 10 questions feature?
I don't think so. I think there's some good answers in there.
Yeah, solid up there. If we had a leaderboard, Jack, you'd be up there with the best answers right there. We'll do that maybe next season. We'll do that. Not just saying that because you're here, but that's good answers there. Good answers. Anyway, before we actually look into Gillingham, I want to quickly ask you, Blue, for a favour on a podcast. I'm putting you on the spot here. I should have actually spoke about this before the podcast when we were recording, but I'm doing it now. The host of the main podcast, Kings of Anglia, Mark Heath, is probably right now he's having surgery on his ACL. So any advice for him if he is listening? I could clip this up for him, but any advice for him as he recovers from it?
You know what? I saw that on Twitter this morning. I was like, another one. My advice, God, I don't want this podcast to turn into an hour, a further hour long.
Yeah.
My advice would be to focus on the short term and not think about, or try not to think about the months ahead. It's a long process, and to be honest, I think the sooner you get into your head that this is going to be really hard, the better, because then you're not shocked by the physical pain and probably mental pain as well. So it's really difficult, and it took someone saying to me, look, this is going to be really hard. You don't realise how hard this is going to be, for me to really sort of realise and get my head around it before the surgery. So obviously I wish him the best of luck in the surgery. He's probably going to be in quite a bit of pain when the pain medication wears off. So yeah, rest. You know what your body needs and feels best. But my advice would be to break down and stay on top of those exercises, especially in early stages. And if you can break it down, it becomes a lot easier task if you take it week by week. So yeah, best wishes, Mark, and best wishes on the recovery. It's a long road, but it can become very rewarding once you get towards the end and you see those progress when looking back at where you were, and hopefully you get back to having an even better knee than before.
Indeed, yes. Speedy recovery,
Speedy recovery,
and you'll be back on the podcast scene, and maybe a fireside pitch, in a year or so. But yeah, speedy recovery, my friend. Thanks for that, Blue. Just thought I'd bring that in there for the podcast. Well, let's look ahead then to Gillingham this weekend. Back on the road, they're 6th in the table. They beat us earlier in the season, 2-1 back in August. They've had a mixed bag of results-wise in the last few weeks, months. And don't score many goals, but don't concede many. Jack, how are you feeling going into this one? Another away trip on the cards?
I think super positive. Like, we've got, I guess, a point to prove from when we played them last season. I think they got a point from us, or 2 points we dropped against them, which was quite a pivotal moment under the lights. And then obviously the start of this season, them coming, I think they came back from behind to beat us. I may have got that wrong, but so we definitely got a point to prove, I think, against them, and we've obviously hit some really good form in recent weeks and months. So I'm feeling really positive that the girls will, work really hard to kind of set us up in the best opportunity possible to get the win, and I'm sure they've started that process already this week on Tuesday, and very much looking forward to it.
Definitely. Blue, thoughts on Gillingham then? A team, once again, they could be a bogey side in some sort of way because of the win in August and that draw that thankfully I wasn't at. Unfortunately, you were at Blue, that goalless draw under the lights. But a team that we need some revenge against.
For sure, they are a really tough team. Quite a physical side, and don't normally play pretty football, but in effect it is very effective, as you've seen with our results in the past. So I think all the girls are aware that this is a really tough game, so we'll be prepared. I think yesterday and Tuesday was a good session, looking forward to it, and it's an opportunity to, like you said, get revenge and prove that actually we're in a really good place and we're in the final few games, and we are focused on getting those 3 points each week.
Yeah, I'm just double checking the ground just so we got it right. Kieran has gave me the confirmation, so I might be sending people to a different ground. I think it's Bouville Stadium. Probably completely butchered that. That sounds just right. It does say Kent, Chatham Town, I think it is the ground. So 2:30 kickoff, Jack. 2:30. Okay. Is that much difference for maybe the players to get used to? It's like half an hour difference. Probably, I don't know, Blue. Would that affect players? That half an hour difference. We'll get there a bit, maybe half an hour later. But what's that like? Either one of you, I don't mind.
I think, well, I don't think it necessarily throws the players too much. Probably an extra 30 minutes in bed that's probably helpful. And a sort of a later pickup from Ipswich at Playford. I think from staff, like for me, I get so confused with the timings for the warm up and when we need to be in the dressing room and like when they need to go out on the pitch. And I think that has thrown like Nicola and Joe and other staff as well in the past a little bit, especially when we had like the FA Cup kickoffs. And I know it seems silly, it's just like 30 minutes, but then we're trying to like do maths and stuff and like, yeah, it's just not what you want to be doing when you're trying to focus on the game prep, I guess. But yeah, so I think that's the only thing that really probably changes.
Okay, and just looked. So Chatham Town is the stadium. It's 5,000 capacity. Can't even say that word, Blue.
Capacity.
It's got 500 people, 5,000 people. It can thing me 500 seated. But yeah, Blue looks like a not bad little setup. Chatham Town. Yeah.
Does the pitch look all right? Was it 3G?
See.
Did someone say it's 4G or 3G? Can't remember.
It looks 3G. It does look 3G.
Nice even surface.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's definitely different to last season. We didn't play there last season.
Yes, I remember last season. Yeah,
because that was under lights as well, wasn't it? At their place as well. That was a win. Yeah, but yeah. If you're free this weekend, as always, Blue, let's plug it as much as we can. What can they expect for any visiting fans? Anybody want to go? Of course, the supporters group will have a mini bus. So if you want to go, contact them at ITFC WOSC, the supporters group, on all the socials and on email. But yeah, Blue, any little plugs for yourself to get people ready and geared for this game?
Yeah, I think we've got 4 games left and the title's so open. 4 very, very important games. But the other 3 remaining after Gillingham are only important if we win against Gillingham. So it's a crucial point in the season, and there's pressure, and the team they haven't been in better form this season. So what a time to come and watch. So if you are free and fancy a little trip to Kent, 2:30 kickoff, get yourself down there. We've only got 4 games and then potentially 1 more if it goes our way, to come and see us this season. So yeah, why not? Little day trip. No Mother's Day excuses now. You can forget your mothers. Come and watch us.
Yeah, and of course, there's no men's game as well on Saturday. Their game got postponed because of international call-ups. So if you want your football fix, Saturday just chill with your mothers, and then on Sunday, go and watch the women's team.
Great plan, Ross.
Yeah, great plan. But there we go. Jack, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. Any other business? Any other shout outs from yourself?
Thank you. No, I don't think I've got anything else to add. Just really looking forward to the week ahead, and hopefully we can do the business on Sunday.
Yes, bring it on. Well, Blue, I think that's us done, really. Any other business is out the window. A good hour chat. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you for listening. Big thanks to John Fowler Solicitors again, sponsoring the pod. And we'll catch you next week after Gillingham.